had this thing for, I think, about 6 weeks, and I've just got to say, let me get out of the way right away, and Craig agrees with me on this. Welcome back to Texas Truck Channel. I'm Brian, and I'm filming solo today because, well, I've been hogging all the fun with the Polaris General 1000 XP Ultimate. We've had this thing for 6 weeks, and I've just got to say, this is our favorite one we've had so far from Polaris in terms of balance. Now, Craig hasn't driven the 1500. I have, and that thing is way better for like ranch work and utility. But for where I'm at in life right now, this is perfect. The kids love this thing. They can ride in the back. Their helmets are good. They're not bumping heads anywhere. Polaris Ranger is, well, a better utility tool than this is because it has more of a bench seat. It holds 6 people. The Expedition's almost too much overland for what we do, meaning we don't need at least in the summertime, we don't need all the HVAC and the doors and the weight that come with that. This is kind of the sweet spot of all those things, and let me tell you why. So starting off, first of all, let's go to price. This thing, as equipped, this is the XP4 1000, so you get the big motor, you get the 4-seat, and all that good stuff. It is right at... Hey guys, I want to pause this episode to let you know about today's sponsor, Fahren tire inflators. So starting with the smaller one, this one's pretty neat. It's more compact than the bigger one. You can tell it's a lot shorter, but they actually have the same nozzles on the end, and then you power it on with the center button here. And the cool one about this is it can inflate vehicles, but it's multitask more to smaller items if you would like. Bicycle, balls like basketballs, soccer balls, that kind of thing. And then cars, it will do cars, and you can also preset your PSI rating, and then you just thread this onto your trailer and then hit go, and it will stop at that pressure. Oh wait, no, we have a light as well. So you do have that, so if you're at night working on a tire, you can do that. It's got a little strobe for safety. That comes in at $28. It seems really cheap. I'll link below if you want one. But this is the one I would probably get for our purposes, just because it is a little bit bigger battery capacity. We did test both of these. They air up our ATV tire from 0 PSI to 10 in nearly identical times. What's neat about this one, powers in the same way, but it has more modes. So you can go into it. It has ball, motorcycle as well, and that sets a peak and minimum range for the motorcycle, and then car, and then you can set your PSI that way. On the end, you'll notice it also has the USB-C input. It also has another input right here, and it gives you the cigarette lighter charger if you want that. So this is more focused to keep in your car and keep it tidied up. All that covered. Thanks Fahren for sponsoring this episode. Now back to it. We do have a Rockford Fosgate stereo on this as standard. Speakers in the rear up here. You've also got speakers in the footwells down here. And these are, of course, weather resistant, so you can pressure wash this thing out when you need to and not worry about it. In the rear, one thing we found from our occupants, if you can tell, they actually don't mind not having a bench back here. They like having a contoured seat. It moves well for them, but they all fit on it. They've got good, easy to use seat belts and plenty of leg room down here and a grab bar for them to hold on to. They've been very happy with it. Obviously, headroom's not a problem in here. And they also, when we're on the trail, they can put some toys in here and not worry about them getting dirty or dusty or lost. And they have their own little console. If you had a phone back here, you could do that too. Really good design. I just think this is the sweet spot. This is the bowl porridge of the Polaris.
He tasted the porridge in the wee little bowl. It was just right.
Up front, you have the same seats. They are on a slider adjustable right here. We have the floor plugs out because we pressure washed it the other day. But some of the features I want to go over in here are, on the left side, you have high, low, and off for lighting, and your traditional turf terrain mode here. This is actually a pretty big deal that Polaris is proud of. They don't use a 50-50 lock style transfer case. It's actually all-wheel drive. Everything they make is all-wheel drive, which might sound bad from the car world, but I'm here to tell you, it just works. The Land Rover LR3 and LR4 are also all-wheel drive. They don't actually have a locking pin in the middle. What that means is you'll never have binding when you go from pavement to loose stuff. It reacts immediately. You never feel it working behind you. It's always working in front of you. And the turf mode means you can leave it in one-wheel drive, which means the rear diff is not locked. You can put it in two-wheel drive with the diff locked, which I like that a lot. That's kind of like your Ford pickups have a rear diff lock, and that is actually not clutch-based. That will lock a pin and it's 50-50. Problem with that is if you drive on grass that you don't want to kill and have it locked, it'll chew up the grass. So that's why you go back to one-wheel drive. That's your standard operating procedure, or if you're on any kind of pavement. And if you really mean business, all the way up, hit a button, it instantly engages that front diff. and there's no issue with waiting for it to engage like Toyota products do. They take a while to engage. This just doesn't suffer from that. Go to price. This thing, as equipped, it is right at $31,000, but right now, with current rebates from Polaris, this thing is good for $27,000. And I found the non-ultimate, you can find the base 1000 XP, with rebates in Arizona right now for about 16 grand, which is insane. Now, I don't think it's 25, I think it's 24 model, it's a leftover, but nonetheless, that's really good. You can get into one of these things, it's really awesome. And let me tell you the reason why I like this more as a balance overall than the other two that we've tested recently. We've driven other Polarises, but this is what we've had recently, and this is the one that's ringing with me the most. This gives you a little bit of the RZR DNA in that there's more suspension travel than the Ranger, very similar to what the Expedition has, but you don't have all the weight that is associated with that. And the Ranger also gives up some sporting credentials in the name of utility. But what this doesn't give up, that the Expedition does give up, is a dump bed. You still have a dump bed in the back, and it can still hold a bunch of weight. We've got camera gear in here and recovery gear because we've been recovering some others recently, and it's been very helpful for that. Now, one thing this is not as good at as a Ranger is towing. This will only tow 2,000 pounds, 1,500 pounds, whereas the Ranger will tow 2,000 pounds. So that's kind of a letdown in terms, comparatively, but the trade-off is you have better suspension. So let's talk about that a little bit. So let's give you some breakdown real quick. Suspension travel is 14 inches in the front, 14 inches in the rear. Ground clearance is 13.5 inches, which is a bunch. And then on top of that, you get the Walker suspension, Walker Evans shocks front and rear, and they are adjustable. There are dampeners. This is very similar to the Fox QVS that you will find on a Tacoma TRD Pro or a Polaris Expedition. So that's pretty cool that you get that stuff here. Also as standard, this is optional on the Rangers. You get the high clearance lower A-arms on this, so you just clear more objects. And because we have the Ultimate package, we have the 4,500 pound winch as standard. I like that quite a bit. You do have high and low beam headlights as standard as well. Ours is finished in the gray. It's good for 100 horsepower, and it's good for a very smooth power delivery, and that's part of the PVT transmission. Something you don't get here is you don't get the Gen 2 PVT, which is coming for the General, but the 25 Ranger has that already. And it's just a smoother engagement transmission. This is the same transmission you find in the Expedition and all the previous Rangers. It's totally fine, high and low range, but the newer one is smoother to pull the handle. That's really the only difference for the end user. I can't pass up wheels and tires. Let's start here. This comes with Pro Armor 30-inch tires. It's a 30 by 10 on a 15-inch wheel. These wheels are specific to the Ultimate package. And of course you get 4-wheel disc brakes like you do on all Polaris side-by-sides and UTVs these days, which is really cool. High clearance fenders. And the way that the suspension is set up is it will actually droop pretty well, kind of like a live axle Jeep might do. So don't think that independent suspension all around is gonna be a problem if you're new to side-by-sides. It's just not a problem at all. You do have a door here, which I like a lot. You have an actual exposed handle, and then you have an inside handle for the rears. It's kind of like an old Nissan Pathfinder. That's kind of neat. You do have a suicide door in the rear and a standard door in the front, which I dig. The Expedition also has suicide doors all around, which I just don't prefer. I prefer a standard door. And the Ranger comes with a net door or the hard shell door. I just think this one is kind of the sweet spot. Now you can't unbolt it like you can the Rangers, but this lands perfect for your elbow. You have good visibility and you keep a bunch of mud and debris off of you, but you're not dealing with a closed cabin situation that you do with the Expedition in the summertime. Now we do love the closed cab in the North Star editions for winter time, but it's not winter here right now. So we appreciate this. Out back continues the independent suspension. You do get as standard a 2-inch receiver hitch, which I gotta call Polaris out real quick. I wish their ATVs came with a 2-inch receiver hitch just to move trailers around on property, like on their utilities, the Sportsmans. They don't have a 2-inch receiver. I do like that. I know they can't tow much, but just for moving like empty utility trailers around, this is super duper helpful. We use this all the time for that. In fact, the trailer we haul it on, it moves around our property all the time. Here's a better look of the Walker Evans suspension, and you have your dampeners up here. I have left it on the middle setting the whole time. I did count it out and click it left and right to get to the middle so that it's balanced, but we've left it there because it's been just perfect. You do have a helper spring here, so it's a coilover design. This right here is actually an adjustable ride height, so you can see there's a threaded sleeve here and here. You can adjust this collar and make this longer or shorter as needed. Has your standard coilover, a spacer, and then a helper spring. If you come from the motorsports world, you'll know what that is. A Swift helper spring is actually Really helpful. It gives you multiple dampening rates out of the spring. It's pretty high tech, and that's the kind of stuff that you just don't get on the Ranger. This rides so much better on washboard roads at speed. Still has some payload, and that's part of the helper spring doing that. Now, out back, you do have a LED taillight and brake light. You do have a undampened tailgate, which every new truck will give you nowadays, but Polaris just won't. That's okay though, because it's light. You just don't need it, doesn't matter. So let's talk about payload on this thing. The entire payload for the vehicle, including occupants, is 1,280 pounds, including the bed. The bed capacity on its own is 600 pounds, which is really good. And again, towing is 1,500 pounds. Not bad at all. I do want to pull up this bed and show you how easy it is. It is hydraulically assisted. Pull that lever. There you go. And we've got it full of mud right now. And here's another reason why I prefer this over the Expedition for my use case. You can tip this bed back and service this thing yourself. As you can see, coil packs and spark plugs are on top. And on the Expedition, you can still service it. You just have to pull some panels off. This is just so much easier. Like, your air box is right here, no big deal. It just kind of splits the difference between the two. And it looks a lot cooler than the Ranger does. It has a better bodywork design, I think. And I think it just has more clearance, meaning that the fenders don't come out quite as far. The Ranger bed is a little bit wider. This kind of tapers in so you're not hitting trees and stuff. What you do trade off in the bed is the Ranger has their little cutouts for the 5-gallon bucket tie down. This doesn't have that. Kind of confused as to why they don't just do that anyways, but it's just a different market. That's probably why. Okay, fuel capacity on this guy, it's on the passenger side, not the driver's side for the fill up. It is 9.5 gallons, and it's one thing I did notice on this. The Expedition, because it is so overland focused, is good for 200 miles off-road range. That's a lot, and it took, I think, 15 gallons, which is a ton. This doesn't, but that's part of why this weighs less. That's just part of the trade-off of it. So anyways, we're always splitting the difference somewhere. Aesthetically, even the roll bar has some good angles to it, but it's not too busy. I just think it's a really good looking thing. Again, I love the hidden rear door handle. It's a good deal. One thing I want to point on the outside is you do have a traditional antenna instead of one on the top. The others that the Ranger we had didn't have this antenna. I didn't notice it at least. And I found that the FM signal works really well if we're out on trails and we're out and about. We've had really good range if you're not connecting your phone. That's kind of nice. I do like to show you guys the service panels on these. Just like the other Polarises, it's very easy to access. 2 clips and then lift and it's off just like that. This gives you plenty of places to access your coolant level, which is exactly where it should be. You've got your radiator cap right here, and these are your intakes for your PVT and your air. This is where you're getting air. And so just so you know, that's about how deep you can go in water. We've only had it about this deep. That's the deepest thing we have nearest that we're willing to go through. And it's just not an issue. This thing will just paddle itself through. The Pro Armor wheels and tires are really good for that. Now, something else Polaris gives you is a really handy pre-wired relay system here. You can add switches inside the cab. They're even numbered out here, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then also you have your wireless controller receiver for the Winch right there. I just love that you can buy this thing, kit it out however you want, and Polaris knows that. They've got you set up for that. Let me show you the front bumper. Also, this goes back on. Super easy, just like that. You do get this optional bumper for the lower trims as an accessory. This one just comes standard with it. Has fog light mounts right here if you wanted to add accessory lighting, and it acts as a push bar. Again, the approach angle on this isn't even reported by Polaris because it's basically 90 degrees. That's pretty wild. All right, come on into the inside. I'm gonna give it a little bit of power up. You do have the traditional cluster that if you've used any Polaris product, you're familiar with this. This design architecture works on everything that they have. It starts a little sunny, it's hard to see it right now. But your gauge reads up to 140 miles an hour optimistically. I can tell you we have hit 70 miles an hour with this without even trying. It just does it, but that is the governor on it. You do have on the tach, it reads up to 10,000 RPM. We've seen around 8K out of the 7 to 8K, cruising around 5,000, and it's just incredibly smooth. Something else I like is that it comes with a rear view mirror, and you can adjust it around, so if different driver heights are in here, they can easily put it down or put it up. One thing I wish I would have on this, or I would do if we bought this, I would put a windshield on it. I would spend the money for a glass one that you can flip up and down as needed, and I would put side mirrors on it, just because coming from the truck life, I'm used to having a side mirror to see where the rear tire's at. I would like to have that just to dip back and see and not have to look out when you're backing up and around things. Down to the middle, we've got all these punch out points. These correlate to those relays under the hood. If you want to add accessories here, you can knock those out and put in switches. Here's your winch controller here. This is the hard key. There's also a remote, and it has an auto stop. Listen, it knows we've hit the end of the run, so it's not going to burn the winch out by me hitting the wrong button. I like that a lot. You have a weather-tight glove box over here, which is perfect. You can throw your phone in here, wherever you have. Go through the deepest water you want and not worry about it. Center console, plenty of room in there, also weather stripped. And then your transmission. This is the Gen 1 PBT. And look, it's fine. I will say though that I've had a few times where I thought I was in high and it's actually indicated high, but I hadn't pulled it back quite all the way. So that's just user error mostly. You do have a backup camera on this, which I like a lot. There's not a forward cam on this one, but it has a button as if you would use it. And that's just something that's built into the Ride Command package that this comes with on the Ultimate. The Ride Command is excellent. If you've seen any of our stuff before, you've heard us talk about this. The Ride Command is just unparalleled for what you're doing here. And I love that you can add your buddies on their Ride Command system into the GPS right here. So if you're out on the trail and you get, I don't know, you lose somebody, you can see them over here if they're off on the trail. This actually happened in Wyoming when we drove the 1500 Polaris. Part of our group got split off. I was part of the split off group on accident. And we found the rest of the group immediately because of it. I've used it, it's a lifesaver. And when you have no cell reception, this still works because it's not using a data signal from your CarPlay. It has its own GPS. So that's really something you want with a vehicle like this. Things that are in the Ride Command that I like as well is the full digital cluster over here. It kind of doubles what you have in the analog hybrid one, but it gives you some configurability. So you can see your trip here, trip 1, trip 2. This thing's brand new, so it has 115 miles or 111 miles on it. You've got a compass, engine temp, and voltage. You also have your tack right here, which you can toggle. If you pair your phone, you can put it right here. You can Bluetooth your phone together. You do have your audio, which you can put here with your phone or AM, FM. You can change your source. And then your volume, and of course, these buttons are rubberized because they are, well, they're waterproof. And so you're just protected from everything. All that being said, I am a big guy. The seat is back all the way, and I wouldn't mind having another inch here maybe, but I do fit in this just fine. I think it's very comfortable at speed or low speed. I just love the ergonomics in here. I think this is just the right bowl of porridge for me.
In fact, it was so good that she ate it all up.
You know it's good when you start looking at ATV Trader and Ride Now and dealers near you. What are these going for? That's kind of the best review I can give this thing. Anyways, thanks to Polaris for sending this one out. I'm happy to use it and try it out. I've been curious about it for a while. We do need to spend time in the RZR. I think that's gonna be the next thing for us to check out with Polaris just to get that in our repertoire, but this I think is probably gonna be the sweet spot for me. Anyways, let us know if you have a general below or if you have any comments. Let me know what I got wrong about this and what you'd like to see next time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.